You know the pedals, and you know the show. But who really is JHS? Is JHS a tall man with a weird hobby? Or is it something darker, more insidious? Today, we answer that question. Who is JHS? All right, Josh, this is gonna be really serious. I hope you're ready.
Okay.
I don't want people to assume that just because I work for JHS, I'm gonna take it easy on you. This is gonna be some real hard-hitting questions. I want to prepare you ahead of time. It's only fair.
I wouldn't have it any other way, really.
Well, neither would I, and that's what we're doing. Okay, it's going to be hard-hitting, and it's going to be journalism. No one will doubt the sincerity of this interview.
All right, I'm ready.
So first off, I just want to ask you, where were you during the Wall Street crash of 1929?
I was born in '82, so I don't know. You tell me.
I don't know. That's
an eternity
sort
somewhere.
of suspicious. Josh, when you see this picture, what do you see?
Some water.
What do you see here in this picture?
Gate.
It's weird. Watergate. It's kind of interesting. I want to do a little psychology test just to see where you're at mentally. Can you read these words?
Ted Bundy.
Now, can you read these words without the R's?
Ted Bundy.
Need I say more? What was it like being born into oil royalty?
I wouldn't know. Nothing like that. Nowhere near that. Yeah, I grew up on like a horse farm.
So this is where I was raised. So absolute middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
A 1 mile gravel road in. We raised horses.
Oh yeah. Oh. Oh my gosh.
There was a guy that tried to trade us a horse for some gear. That happened at the old shop.
I got the glass is dirty because I got them out of a cabinet. This is graduation.
Senior year.
Very handsome. How did you get into music?
First got into music because of my older brother who played piano, but he listened to tons of music. I just grew up hearing stuff, and then one day I was at his apartment, heard a Pearl Jam cassette tape, and then kind of just went bonkers, like got fully into it.
Did you start any high school bands?
There were like 3 bands.
Where did you and your bands play?
In the beginning, the town I'm from, it's not even really a town. It's called Belgreen. It's like a gas station and a stop sign. But our school was there, so we played like talent shows.
The first place I ever played live with a band was this auditorium across the road.
Wow.
But this is really cool. I used to come in here with my best friend, who was the guitarist in the band, and it's a tunnel that connects one side of the school's property to the other, and we would play our guitars and bring a tape recorder.
Okay.
And so it was like reverb. So we would sit right here on the steps and play. Yeah, I have so many memories of early guitar, buying my first pedals, playing in a band, and my bandmates were at school, doing stuff at night, like coming down here and thinking we were going to be rock stars.
That's amazing. And you told me this was like one of the first times you kind of knew what reverb was.
Yeah, I had never heard a reverb pedal or anything. We would bring our guitars and play, and we were just like, it sounds so good down there. There was no definition of why it sounded good. It was just, that's where we go play guitar. Who had this in their high school?
Nobody.
None of you.
So let's go all the way back to Jackson, Mississippi,
Okay.
where it all started. What got you started tinkering with guitar pedals?
I was doing a lot of like local session work and didn't have a lot of money. I mean, that was kind of the income stream, which as you can imagine is not fantastic. And I also flipped a lot of gear. Like before eBay existed, I would make a decent percentage of my money flipping gear out of pawn shops and things. And I had a pedal break. Am I gonna buy another blues driver? I don't have the money to buy the blues driver. So I figured out that it was the broken switch. And then I fixed the switch, which is a super easy fix. Anybody can do that.
Yeah.
I have like a really obsessive one-track mind. As a kid, it was like everything is horses. Like I grew up on a horse farm, like horses.
Right.
Or like basketball. Everything's basketball. And everything became, it was guitar next, music. And then everything became circuits.
We are on the street of the house
Right.
where it all
Yeah.
began.
Jackson, Mississippi. Yeah, it all started here. So 2007-ish.
At this house.
Yeah,
This
2,
blue
3,
little
4.
house.
It's still the same color, same door. They have not done anything.
What was like some of the first mods that you did?
The very first thing ever was I had a stock blues driver and I had found a Robert Keeley blues driver.
Okay.
And I used them together, like stage 1, stage 2. And when I fixed the one that had the broken foot switch, it was a stock. And I had it open, and then obviously curiosity was like, what did this Keeley guy do to this one?
Why does the unmodded blues driver not sound the same as my Keeley one? What did he do? Open him up, notebook on the kitchen table.
And I didn't know what stuff really was, but I noticed that they're capacitors. I didn't know what to call them that day, but why does this one look different? And there's a different number on it. So I made like little graph charts.
From there, like, okay, I'm gonna mod the blues driver to be like the other one. I did it. I went to Radio Shack up the street. It's there. I mean, it's not in there. The sign is still there.
Right.
I vividly remember having the notepad with the parts for the Keeley, knowing
Yeah.
I needed, like, okay,
Yeah.
I need to remove these, which isn't easy when you
Right.
don't know what you're doing.
Once I figured out how Robert Keeley's whole thing led me into the modding, and then I realized, okay, this is what this part does. Well, let me adjust it to what I like most. I didn't want as much bass as the Keeley one. I wanted less gain here. And so I called my version the Blue Drive. And then I started modding a lot of stuff. Tube Screamers, Rat, DoD 250s, MXR Distortion Pluses, kind of the run-of-the-mill classics. I took DS1s. And I was able to find some circuit analysis of the DS1 because it's been around for so long. Cocktailed my own mod, took all those, just like if you're cooking, I took some things I liked from a lot of places and made what's now known as the Lexi drive and the synth drive.
There was like a swing, like a porch swing on an A-frame, setting right there. And my wife is sitting there with a friend of ours, and I walk out with a DS1, and I had labeled it JHS Mods Lexi Drive. We had a Greyhound we adopted named Lexi.
Right.
And I was like, Lexi. I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Very basic JHS stupidity.
Right.
It's like JHS Mods Lexi Drive. And I walked out, I showed Alice. I was like, hey, I'm going to sell these. I started this thing. She goes, that's cool.
If I remember right, you had a friend who owned a music store, and that's where you got those DS1s, right?
I got the original DS1s from Guitar Center,
Okay, gotcha.
which was down the street. But I became friends with a guy named Patrick Harkins, and he had a much cooler shop that was more up my alley. It was like all used gear. It was like a guitar pawn shop vibe, which is like, that was where I, always looking for old stuff or weird stuff.
It's probably what, 2007?
Seven or eight,
2007, 2008. I had two DS1s. Josh was like, I got a soldering iron. I've been modding a couple things. He was like, let me take two of them. I'll mod one, and maybe we'll sell it or I'll keep it, and then I'll mod the other one and I'll give it to you.
And then we would circulate. He'd sell them on consignment. And the very first one of those mods, even before I sold some on eBay, he actually still has it. He bought it from me.
I marked it number 10 and signed it.
I think you did it. Maybe
Probably
here.
did.
You did it here with a Sharpie.
And I'd probably, it's the first sold thing, and I'd hacked around enough that I'm standing there going, 10 sounds about right. I'm going to start here.
10
Like,
is 10 is better than 1. It sounds more
It does.
official.
I'm a pro. I've
Yeah.
done 10
Oh,
of
it's
these.
a company. 10.
It's a company.
10. There's 10 of them.
That's the first official JHS Pedals product under the label JHS Mods.
So did any like JHS pedal designs as we know them begin in Jackson?
The Pulp and Peel was started there. You'll see V1s that actually have a JHS Mods sticker, which is funny. The Morning Glory idea was starting because I had modded my blues breaker, but I also started building some scratch blues breakers, started modding them. So those were being built. All American, I had been modding Rats, so I thought I'm gonna build some Rats from scratch and put the mods in them. That way I don't have to buy rats. So there are some things like that. I believe an old pedal called the Banana Boost, Mini Bomb Boost is Jackson. The transition from modifying to building pedals from scratch was two things. Me wanting to do that and me wanting to make things that I wanted the sound of, make my own sounds. And also people just being like, oh, can you like make this old fuzz? Or,
Right.
And so
Yeah.
I would just make stuff, and if it turned out really cool and I felt like for somehow I landed a fun name, I'd be like, well, that's a product, I guess. A lot of things like a pulp and peel that just was an evolution of some mod and it became a product, and now there's a V4 that's insane, but it really just started from modifying an orange squeezer.
Yeah.
It wasn't that complicated.
You are modding, you're in Jackson, and then you leave Jackson.
We wanted out of Jackson.
Yeah.
It's just one of my least favorite places that I've lived. A lot of great people there, but get me out. And my wife is from Tupelo. Her brother at his house, he had basically a lawnmower shed, like those pre-manufactured sheds you buy at Lowe's or Home Depot.
Right.
So we moved up here, used his shed in the back. It's no longer there, and these people were very kind in letting us stand in their driveway awkwardly. But yeah, this is the little shed that was like a lawnmower shed.
Yeah.
And it was the beginning of the summer of '09, 100 plus degrees, humidity.
Yeah.
And my dad came down, because I grew up about an hour and a half from here. We put a window unit in it, cut a hole, put a window unit in it, and put like the pink styrofoam insulation on it.
Right.
And it looked, when you walked in, it was pink.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
There's the Tupelo newspapers, first press I ever had.
Right.
And it said like Tupelo Man, something
Yeah.
like that. And you see the pink. And all my friends would come by, local musicians, and it was always, let's go to the Pink Palace. So I
That's
worked
awesome.
back here all the time.
And that's where like momentum started to happen, making stuff for certain artists, came up with a lot of pedals in that little shed.
What pedals were you building out of the Pink Palace at the time?
Yeah, this is original Morning Glories.
Okay.
Like, Double Barrel is from here. Sweet Tea is definitely from here. Angry Charlie, Charlie Brown, Mr. Magic. It would have been here that I really discovered the stamps in the craft store more and
Okay.
more.
One of the things that I think that people identified with JHS pedals is like the icons.
Mm-hmm.
And how did the icons come about?
The icons came about through that same OCD thing where I hated Sharpies and I did not like, just a sticker really bothered me. My wife, I was with her at a craft store, and we walk into a craft store, not thinking about pedals. Maybe I was at all times, but like just walking around, and I saw the rubber stamps that teachers use to like
Yeah.
say like good job or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And I like had this freaking crazy moment. I was like, oh my God, that's it. And I looked, there was a half orange slice. I was like, and it was the right scale of
Yeah.
size. The chances of this were crazy. This is that original craft store pulp and pill.
Wow.
This is it.
Yeah.
And so you see it first appear on the heel because I
Okay.
was unsure what to do. And then you see it later on the tops. You're gonna do this. I'm
gonna
gonna
do
let
that.
you.
Okay.
You're gonna add some ink and then you're just gonna do some tests.
I'm gonna do some
and
tests.
Feel it out and like
Okay.
see if you can get a clear thing on paper first.
He's never let me
You've
do
never
this
done
before.
this.
Okay.
Yeah, see what it looks like. All right, that stamp has
Pretty
held up.
It's pretty
We
good.
used that, I used that stamp for a while, and then we made our own bigger version here.
Oh, yeah.
We have some old cases over here.
All right.
I think we
yeah.
do that.
We have some old cases.
We have an orange one.
So you have the icon stamp.
Okay.
I'll do the big, you do the little, doesn't matter. Now, there's other elements to this. If you're a nerd and you want to, you're crazy like me and you really care, you'll notice that on almost 99.9%, I always put an exclamation point at the power.
Oh, okay.
It didn't mean anything. It was just it was a look. There are different stamped brand
Okay.
icons. Now, the first ones are typewriter set,
Okay.
and I still love that.
Yeah.
And that is 3 separate JHSs And it was this one particular typewriter font. Over in that bin still are untouched. I bought these everywhere I could find them because they wear out.
Right.
And the whole branding was this. When we started making our own stamps, like, hey, make the orange bigger, graphic designer, you will notice there are hollows with an arrow.
Okay.
There are just hollow big.
Oh.
There are
like this
hollows a little bit smaller, full.
Okay.
Pick your way of doing it.
I'll do OG orange, and I think I'm gonna do. I like this the hollow font.
Okay. And if you mess up, basically this is your only hope. On the orange case, you're kind of up the creek. This is just a desolvent thing.
Yeah.
Spray some on here, and just see what happens.
Okay.
And what would happen a lot of times is I would mess it up. I would get it off, and I would have to perfectly lay it over the outline. You probably remember that.
Yeah, because it would leave a little bit of like.
And you can find really old ones every once in a while. I got really good at this, but there would be a shadow, and that means I messed up. So if you ever see an old one, I had to redo it.
That's cool. For a long time, you only bought the amount of cases that you needed.
Yes.
So in this scenario, this is the pulp and peel case that you bought for this one order, and if I screw this up,
it's really painful.
Yeah.
Someone's not getting their pedal. Yeah.
Oh, I'm like actually like. Cool.
This is a little bit harder because you don't have a foot switch here. A lot of times you would like have something to hold to.
It's like not great.
I did it upside down, but it's perfect. Ooh,
I got it off.
That's a lemon. Look, it's the
lemon.
The lemon juicer or something.
Let's see if I can do this again.
Did it come off?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
There's a little faint, little residue left over, but you know.
Okay.
Who's this order for?
This is for Eric Clapton.
This is for Eric Clapton.
That would literally happen sometimes.
Okay.
And it's horrifying. That's pretty good.
Pretty good?
That's really good.
Pretty good. Better than the last one.
Solid.
So you're making JHS pedals.
Yeah, we call them custom made.
Yeah.
Hand
Where
built.
were you selling those?
eBay. Reverb didn't exist. This is way before Reverb.
Yeah.
There was a small shop in Tupelo. This was called Main Street Music. And it was the first place in Tupelo where someone sold the pedals in a retail spot. So it was a guitar shop. There were these two brothers. They were really amazing. And they had like insane vintage guitars in here. And they were kind of an anomaly in the area. Like, how do they have this shop?
Yeah.
A lot of people would come through on tour because Oxford, which is Ole Miss, is not far away. You get a lot of bands coming through for guitar repair and stuff. But yeah, they sold, I would put pedals in here and just sell them on consignment. They weren't a dealer, but a lot of people like bought stuff. All Americans, I sold a lot of All Americans here. It was in a blue enclosure, little black pointer knobs, and that stamp that I found. It looked so good. And I remember him texting me a picture. This kid bought it. Charlie Brown's, Mr. Magic's, I remember bringing them in here. I remember making those in like batches of 5 or so and dropping them off every week. And I would walk in. It was like an Andy Griffith show or something. Right. We didn't really communicate. Yeah. I would just show up with 5 and he had sold 5. It's a big piece of like the retail history. Down the street is a hardware store, and it's where Elvis bought his first guitar.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not part of the JHS narrative, but it's kind of cool.
It's a very historical music.
This is
street.
Yeah, I mean JHS pedals
JHS
and Elvis. Yeah, absolutely.
So you're selling pedals. This whole thing has to work. You've bet your life on it, basically. What comes after Tupelo?
After that, there's an opportunity to have a slightly bigger shop. My wife's dad, he lived a few minutes outside of Tupelo. There's a little town called Ecru. Ecru is Mayberry, and he has a bigger shed. And we actually moved out there onto the property as well. It's a big house, everything. We're trying to decide where we're gonna live for a long term and do this. So that was like the next shop. It was interesting. It had a garage bay next to it, which was kind of nice. I would back my Jeep Wrangler up, open the door. Alice would be boxing stuff on a table. It had a good feel.
Yeah.
So I did the same thing there, but there is where it got nuts. The one vivid thing about this shop
was, I remember this was what I always refer to as like the 18-hour days. Like it was very real here.
I would do insane days of work. I can remember many days waking up before Alice and Emma.
I would wake up in the house there at sunrise or before. I'd come out to the shed, and my family would wake up, and I would see them for lunch, and they'd come in and say, "Hey," my daughter Emma was really small, and they would go to bed, and I'd come in at like midnight.
6 to 8 months behind, wasn't charging enough, barely making any money, and I got so behind that basically my best friend lived in Kansas City. I would actually drive out here. We would build some pedals in his basement just so I could like see if I could train somebody, because I didn't trust anyone. I didn't know anybody. We would drive back, and I'd sit back up in my shop. I'd come out here. I was like, could he help? And then eventually, that's where we met you and your dad, and you guys drove down to Ecru, which is wild. How old were you?
I was probably like 15 or 16.
You have the only living memories in this shop of this time.
Yeah, I remember there was a card table in the corner of the shed. The floor was caved in. I think the first thing you handed me was like a clone.
I remember you building Klon replicas.
Yeah. Burned my hand a bunch of times, and you just said put some Germex on it.
This is where I told you to put
that was where the
Germex on your
Germex
burns.
thing happened.
My dad
TS9.
destroyed a TS9.
Like,
which
was dumb of me. That's a hard pedal to modify.
Right.
It blew me away that your dad came and did that. Like, it was so amazing.
Yeah.
It was like literally a glimmer of hope. Like, it was feeling bad. I was so far behind.
Everything started snowballing here and getting better, which was technically worse because I didn't know what I was doing, and orders were backing up. And that's why I was like, I got to move to Kansas City, because you were there, your dad was there, my other friends, and I was like, I know I have enough people, we can like start a crew.
So we moved. We loaded up a U-Haul and moved to Kansas City.
So after Ecru, after the shed, you guys move here to Kansas City, and we start building out of this basement in this house.
Yeah. Rented a house sight unseen, saw it over like Skype, and built out a shop in our basement, and I had people helping. And so I was trying to dig out of the hole to save the business because it was imploding on itself.
December, freezing cold.
Oh, it was so
we
cold.
unload the U-Haul, and we had packed the shop in a way where it was at the back, so I unpacked it first, and we just knew like we're gonna throw our furniture in and have somewhere to sleep, but I have to set the shop up immediately because people are wanting Christmas orders, and I have about 5 days to ship them.
Yeah.
Everything was hinging on this working, to the point where we moved to a state 10 hours away, never been to the city really. Basically, I'm absent from the moving process of the house to build pedals for other people we've never seen. And it was like, we were all on board, and it was crazy. So I was in the house for a bit. You'd know as much as me. I can't remember. Maybe it was long enough for basically like Alice to be like, okay, there's too many people coming in the morning. Garage doors, kids waking up. I remember sitting in the backyard here, and me and my wife were talking, and she's like, you know, like, you've gone for it this far, you gotta get a building.
I remember moving out of your house into the new building.
Yeah.
We move in, it's basically just like a giant garage storage section, and it was 4 guys working under this rickety loft thing. I used to work right here at like a little bench, and the water from the air conditioning used to drip down behind my bench.
It was the first real shop, but it was like, it's like what you see in a movie, you know?
Right.
You're making it work.
Yeah, right.
That's the vent where John worked here, and when people would take a dump, the farticles would blow out of the bathroom over his head.
But it felt great at the same time. It was so ganky.
When you combine that with the electrical box with rain pouring over it, this is a pretty hazardous environment.
But it also felt like things are working.
Yeah.
This would be like
This is where JHS, I guess, became a company, you could say, for sure.
There's kind of 2 iterations of 7-Eleven name.
Yes.
There was the back room, which was rain pouring in through the garage door, you know, on the electrical box. And then there was the short-lived JHS music store.
It could have worked, but then JHS just kept growing and growing, and it was like, this is insane. This is 2 startup businesses, so I sacrificed the music store on the altar of the pedals that was actually making money.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was wild, and then we switched them.
Yeah.
We moved. We took that front and made a nicer, cleaner shop where water is not pouring in the switch box.
We had 2 benches, and we'd kind of like face each other. And that's where like the assembly line started. That's where like kind of like the beginning of the way we kind of build now, like sort of evolved here. What other pedals were invented in the 7-Eleven space?
Moonshine, for sure.
Was that our first teaser ever?
Yeah, that was
that
the first.
it? Okay.
Yeah, first teaser ever. We went down to Blue River and like,
Yeah.
That was
so
your
good.
directing debut.
That was my first, it was directing debut.
Superbolt is that building.
Superbolt.
Yes, Superbolt. I remember making the proto and taking it to an Atlanta guitar show, and nobody even touched it. Nobody looked at it. But the color box, it's going to be impossible to top that.
Yeah.
Panther Cub.
Yeah,
Panther.
that's right.
Those are both there. That's huge. Actually, I can't discount how huge that is.
Yeah.
It was for us. The second ever tap tempo analog delay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big deal.
So another really big part is you brought Steve on to help you out. Well, what was that like? Because that was a huge lift off of you.
That era was a really big part of it for me, was admitting what I really suck at. People's orders are getting lost.
Water dripping on pedals.
Oh, that was like one of your first days here. You came in and there was like water dripping from the ceiling onto an order.
I was like remembering to pay bills like a few days late. I was just like, I'm not great at those functions.
Yeah.
I had to have somebody that could just think about the business not failing from that perspective.
Right.
Like I needed to do what only I could do. And I needed to find people to do everything else. I needed operations manager. I need somebody that's like good with numbers, somebody that's black and white. I need somebody not like me. I need somebody to argue with me too. I had met Steve as a guitar player. He actually bought, I think, the first Morning Glory ever or something like that, something crazy, when I was in Tupelo. And I remember going to him. He had a job at the time, and I said, hey, can you come and be the manager? So Steve started working in this building, and you had a desk right here. And he like perched it up, and he would like just work over here on the night. It's a foot off the ground, and he would just work like in view of everyone. And I was like, he's like, how much? He's like, I don't know. I don't know what I can pay you because I need you to tell me how much I can pay you. I don't know how much money we have. I literally had no accounting. It was it just kept working every week. I kept paying people's paychecks, and it worked, and it was like insane.
Right, yeah.
And he quit and literally came and worked for me probably for years, making a tenth of what he should have made. And I mean, it's similar with you. It's like people people saw something there to attach to and own.
Yeah.
And that's why it kept working.
Right.
It wasn't just me. It was like you owned a thing and Steve owned a thing, and that grew the big thing.
So now we're currently sitting in the building that we're in now, which came after 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
And we are currently like straight up bursting at the seams. What are some of your like top memories of like this building?
We moved here 5,000 square feet, 2,500 per floor, and I remember going, we'll never need the upstairs.
Right.
Like this, and I was gonna sublet it to people. Kept it for storage, and right now it's like we're just on top of each other. You know, 40 plus employees, and this room's now a show. It's like ridiculous. Didn't see any of that coming. My favorite memories here, I mean, it's mostly gonna be stuff with like how we started the show, how we started rethinking, having fun. Like, I remember admitting I hate guitar demos.
Right.
And that was great. Just being like, I don't have to like them.
Yeah.
I'm friends with Andy. He loves them. He's great
Yeah.
at it. I don't have
Let
to
Andy
like
do
this.
it.
Like being
Yeah.
like having the moment where it's like, I don't have to like this. Okay,
Right.
sweet. You coming to me and go, let's do a YouTube show. I was like, YouTube show? Like, you know,
Yeah.
and it was just, that's a great memory. I think it's just been the growth that's wild, you know. 7-Eleven Maine, I think the highest amount of pedals we built. I'm bad with numbers. Like I said, I hired someone for that, but I think we built 12,500 there at the end. And then last year we built 100,000 here. That's such a crazy feeling to remember my wife saying, do you think this can work? And then now seeing 100,000 pedals, who bought those? And knowing that's like a small dent in the guitar industry, it's really crazy. All the employees, all the families, people that have worked for me, you know, now you have 3 kids. And it's like, it's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
we live in another world.
It's
like
crazy.
an alternate dimension of what it used to be. It's like creating another family, sort of. It's like, that's awesome. I love it. This whole thing, as accidental as it feels, I kept going and I kept going. It made space for people to do really cool stuff. A lot of people think I do everything. Like, we still get emails where it's like, man, I don't build pedals anymore. You know, you don't want me building your pedals. I have much better builders. Since 2009, JHS and everything that it is has been an amazing team of people that took chances. I mean, some of the chances you guys took are crazy. It's my initials, but it's not me. You know, I'm an equal part of the craziness with other people that you might not know or see.
Yeah.
People have owned this in similar ways that I have over the years, and that's super amazing that we have such a good team.
What's exciting about the future for you?
Having gone through the process with the pedal side of creating pedals and continuing to do that, but I think about like what I love, the education side of things I love, what the show has become, like what you and I have made over these 3 years of chugging away at that. What's next for that? What's the next things there alongside the pedals? Who are the new people that we'll add? What will they do? Yeah, just seeing the team get bigger and bigger and having the resources to do even more out of the box weird stuff. You know, I think we've done a good job at not trying to do what anyone else does, admitting that like, yeah, this is who I am. We'll do this.
Right. No, I love that sense of identity and just leaning into what we know we're good at, which is goofs and making fun stuff. And like, it would be really weird, like if right now there was like a really overly emotional song playing and
Yeah,
like
we wouldn't want that.
It was like, you know, it almost sounded like kind of U2-ish or something, and it made us seem like this was way more important than it actually is, or something like that.
But it wouldn't be good if we did that.
Yeah,
would
it'd be
it?
like super weird and would probably make a lot of people really uncomfortable.
Yeah, cringy.
Yeah, it'd be really cringy. Like if it was black and white, and then
Don't do
like
that.
you
Yeah,
know,
we don't want black and white.
like it was, you know, like there was like a close up of me and it looked like I was crying,
Yeah.
and then like, you know, there was like lots of just like pictures of hands stuff.
Yeah. That's probably not what we want to do.
No, probably not.
Thank you for watching this exclusive look into who JHS really is. I hope that you feel more part of our family after watching it. I can tell you for sure that we feel like more a part of your family. As long as that's not too weird for both of us. Anyway, hit like if you like this episode, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notified every single time we drop a new episode. Thank you, and good night.